Hi everyone, thank you for joining us for today's Hangout on Air about enabling teams through Drive. As a reminder for today, if you want to ask any questions to our presenters or to Nara, go ahead and use the blue Q&A box app. And we won't be answering any questions about the product roadmap or future iterations of the product. So this is Nara, he's our solution strategy lead here at Google, and we're also joined by Mike and Andy at Commune Hotels.
Thanks a lot for joining us. We're going to, as Debbie said, we have Mike and Andy here with us to talk about how their team uses Google Drive. But we're going to start by giving you a quick overview of Google Apps, and then we'll talk a little bit about some of the new things that have happened in Google Drive over the past couple of months, because a lot has happened. So first, just a refresher on Google Apps. Google Apps is basically, you guys all know, it's a suite of applications: Mail, Calendar, Drive, Docs, Hangouts, Google+. It's a suite of applications that helps teams work well together, helps you work anywhere, helps you work fast, helps you collaborate in real time, and helps you share across your company. Now, one of the things that we've done over the past couple of months is really put a focus on Drive and the ability to kind of share files and collaborate well as a team using Drive. So in June, we introduced Google Drive for Work. And what Google Drive for Work is basically all the things that you know and love about Google Apps for Business, plus a few things. One is unlimited storage for Drive. Second thing is Vault for e-discovery for your files that are in Drive. And the third is advanced audit and controls, sharing controls for secure collaboration. So what Drive's all about is helping teams and companies have a place where they can put all their work, where it's safe, it's available to them everywhere, and it's really easy to share and work together. So it's a place to store all your work, access it from anywhere, share easily. Important thing is that it doesn't just work with Google Apps. It works with all the apps you already use. And from an IT perspective, you never have to worry again about capacity, performance, or safety. So that's what Google Drive for Work is all about. There are three main kind of areas where we see Google Drive for Work helping companies. The first is if a company has a mobile workforce, then Google Drive is a great solution for that. It helps you kind of take your files and take them anywhere, take your data and take it anywhere. The second is if you have teams that collaborate, then again, same thing. If you have projects, if you have a project-based business, Drive is a great solution for that. And the third is the area of content sharing. And that's really what Mike and Andy are going to talk more about, is how their team uses Drive to share content with their sales team. So today we'll talk about sales teams, specifically content sharing. And I'm going to turn it over to Mike, who's the CIO of Commune Hotels, and Andy McCaslin, he's known as the Google guru at Commune Hotels. So, oh, sorry, I said that wrong. But Mike, here you go.
Yeah, thanks, Nara. Appreciate it. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. I just wanted once again, my name is Mike Blake, and I'm the CIO for Commune Hotels and Resorts. Now, that's commune, the verb, not the noun. So when you get to know us a little bit better, I want everyone to make sure to say it correctly. So we could go to the next slide. This is what we've created so far. So we have 3 different brands, and I'm very excited to announce that we actually have a 4th brand that we just happened to take over in the Asia area called the Lila. So let me go through the ones you do know us by. JDV, which is Joie De Vivre. The other is Thompson, and soon to come out is Tommie, which is kind of a hip, new, design-centric kind of. Think of it as a lot more social areas, but a small room. But needless to say, we are in the boutique space, looking to attract many of the folks that are listening to me now. So please, if you haven't tried our hotels, you really should, because we have great bandwidth. We're future forward in technology, and that's one of the reasons why we chose to go with Google. So if we go to the next slide, you'll see some of our challenges. One is we're growing pretty rapidly. So we have an installed base of now 45 hotels. We have 12 of them. We have another 12 in development. So we're in all the places where most of you want to stay. So we have this dire need to be flexible. And plus, we're spread out throughout the world now, and we need to collaborate much better. And we need a technology and a technology base to help us collaborate, and that concept of high-velocity collaboration and being able to work anywhere is exactly what we need. and the ability to have real-time communications, because we find ourselves constantly in a state where we need to ensure that our properties can be up and ready to go. In fact, a traditional hotel can take anywhere between 6 to 8 weeks to take over. We have it down to pretty much a fine science now, where we can generally take over a hotel in anywhere between 17 to 20 days. And Google is absolutely part of the story in helping us do that. Now, one of the areas I wanted to focus on today was a little bit about our deployment, and go right into, in 2013, so about a year and a half ago, we embarked on this journey. And got to tell you, as deployments go, I just came off another deployment from another company with another product. I got to tell you, this one was much smoother. Can't tell you, between the team, between folks like Cloud Sherpas, absolutely everyone on board knew what they were doing. The technical part of the deployment was actually almost it was routine, and it's not really worth discussing. It was so kind of boring in many ways, and some of us, that's what we strive for. I mean, definitely in IT, we try to get, in some areas of our world, we strive to be boring, and this deployment in a lot of ways was boring. Now, when we talk about drive adoption organically, let's focus on that, because that's one of the reasons why we looked at we have this new tool that we've introduced to the organization, and we could have been very prescriptive as far as what people would use and what they would not use, but we chose not to go down the path of being that prescriptive, and actually going down the path of trying to give people more the adoption organically. Let them kind of absorb the tool and use the tool as they fit it in their work processes. And as you can see on the next slide, drive adoption has grown significantly. In fact, what we did was we just took a snapshot of our August 2nd look, and you all can see that we have growth just about in every category. And it's not just, we see that most of it's file uploads, but you start seeing that docs and sheets and slides and some of the other forms are beginning to grow. Folks aren't hiding behind these firewalls and VPN access. The drive is much easier to use, and there are folks that have completely adopted this, and you'll find that there are, I guess you can break down the world into two kind of technology folks. You have those that are native technology folks, and that's kind of the generation that has been born within technology. And then you have guys like me who are more of an immigrant into technology, where I just kind of, I'm definitely not as savvy of a user as some of these native technology folks. But I tell you, as an immigrant into technology, we absolutely are able to use this tool and use it very effectively. And one of the groups that we wanted to highlight today is our sales group, because what our sales group was struggling with is, how do we collaborate? How do we get all this disparate data that we have to help our sales teams actually sell some of the meeting space within our hotels, or blocks of rooms within our hotels. So our sales team is kind of tasked with reaching out to folks and saying, look, how can we best meet your needs for either meetings or blocks of rooms? And I got to tell you, very quickly, with less than one person, we were able to put this site together, and folks were able to get into it and utilize it with little or no training, and some of the best resources are right there at their fingertips. It was a fantastic way of bringing a tool, solving a problem, and actually iterating from there, because this is what I'm showing you is kind of like not the be-all end-all. We always look at these technology programs as ways to evolve into, but it's a step in the right direction. And I can assure you, if I show you this a year from now, it's going to be even more robust, and it's going to have even more capability. And that's kind of the beauty of growing with Google. But I do want to leave you with a handful of other things, which I think is important as you guys look at the years ahead and looking at this product and looking at what Google as a partner gives you. One is, I can't stress it enough, is trying to be that IT organization that helps and enables organic growth. Because organic growth is all about letting people work with the tool at their own pace. Sure, you can kind of augment it with training. That's the right thing to do. But don't force technology down people's throats, because that, as much as it's good for them and it's good medicine, some people will just have a hard time kind of adopting. And second of all, invest in resources. We have our own Google guru. That is Andy. I mean, he's an expert in this space. That's what he does. He lives, breathes the entire app stack, and he helps the people organically kind of work with these tools. He is out there, he is training, he is teaching, he is working with the folks at Google and bringing in capabilities that into our organization. And that's pretty big for us, who has a relatively small team. I mean, for all 54 hotels, we only have 8 people on our team. So having one person devoted to this application stack is a pretty big investment on our side. And finally, the third thing I would leave you with is the beautiful thing about being mobile ready. Because I think as we consistently, especially the sales force has seen this, as they're out with their iPads, or they're out with their slates, or they're out with their tablets, they are mobile ready to be able to bring these documents, to be able to bring contracts, to be able to instantly collaborate. And that is a capability that they didn't have a little less than 3 months ago. So we built this pretty quickly for them. And I do think that, will it ever supplant Salesforce or a CRM tool? No. But I do think it's a step in the right direction. I do think that for some who don't want to go into those extreme robust capabilities, that this is a perfect tool for the problem at hand. And that's what I think you'll find is you will find problems that you're trying to solve that the Google stack will fit perfectly, and it doesn't take a tremendous amount of programming or other skills to kind of bring these solutions up and make them so that they're ready for the teams to utilize. So that's all I've got. So Nara, I turn it back to you.
Thanks a lot, Mike. So that was great. So Mike, great use case and great stories. A few things to pick up. One is, the theme of letting users, empowering users to do what they need to do and solve problems themselves, right? That's an important thing that's true in this story, which is the sales team was given access to these tools. They're given some inspiration and some guidance by the Google guru, but then they were really building this tool for themselves, and now they're evolving that as they need to help their team perform as they need to, right? So I think that's an important theme. Second one is, and we'll go into this in a bit more detail, which is content sharing and being able to distribute information, especially to remote workers, is an important thing. That's an important need that's coming up, and it's something that Drive is very well suited for. So those are 2 things. And then to sum up on Drive, Drive, as I said before, it's a place where you can store all your work. It's safe, it's available, and it's easy to share. And coming back to the real problems that Drive is focused on, we talked a lot about content sharing here. Sales assets are one example. Marketing collateral will be another. HR and corporate communications is another type of content that you want to distribute. You could be a finance team that wants to distribute, reports to executives. That's something that you can do. So many different types of content can be distributed using Drive, and it makes it very simple to distribute content. All that needs to be done is to put the information that you need to distribute into a shared folder, and it immediately appears on all the devices that the folder is shared with, right? So all the devices of the users of the folder is shared with. So it's a very simple way to share information. Second one is going from right to left on this page. Project collaboration is another important area where Drive can help, which is helping teams work well together, not just by sharing information, but like Mike said, being able to actually edit on the go, being able to kind of meet using tools like Hangouts, being able to really collaborate and work as if you're in the same room, even though you may be geographically dispersed. And the third one is a theme we've been talking about quite a bit as we went through this, which is really helping people be effective wherever they are on whatever device they are. So Drive is designed to be, Drive and apps in general are designed to be mobile first. So everything that, this may not be 100% what you experience today, but the vision is that everything that you can do on a desktop, you'll be able to do even better on a mobile device in the future. So that is what we had in terms of content. So we're going to go into, turn it back to Debbie to kind of take us through the Q&A.
All right, thanks, Nara. So our first question is from Philip, and it's about how to get your staff to get used to getting, it's a two-part question. So the first is how to get your staff used to using Google's suite of Office apps. And the second is, do you still use Word to create and manage documents, contracts, etc., or are you transitioning those to Google Docs and Sheets?
So I'd be more than happy to answer that. So, I don't think you can ever get anybody away from some of the Office products. I mean, Excel and Word have such an installed base that it's I don't have the methadone yet to get people off that. But what we have been doing is offering them alternatives, and what we're finding is as people are working through a lot of these things, we do give them a healthy alternative with the Google Docs, and we find that once people start using them and get comfortable with it, they start adopting it on their own. So once again, empowering the user as opposed to forcing it down their throat. I do think that I can't envision a day when our finance folks will get off Excel, but you never know. There might be a miracle might occur.
Well, in that case, Mike, do you guys have, you have a Google guru like Andy, but do you guys have other champion programs internally or other rewards for people to help push change management for those tools in your org?
Yeah, I think what we try to do is at each one of our hotels we have what we call a technology ambassador. So each one of those ambassadors, and they could be a front office manager or they could be an assistant GM or a catering manager. It doesn't necessarily matter what role that they play in the hotel, but they are a champion of technology, and they have a tendency to teach us too, which is kind of neat.
Great. All right, so we have another question for you from Josh, and it's, what are some of your favorite third-party apps that enhance your Google Apps experience?
I guess I can maybe summarize some of that. I think the most I've seen in the field, as far as people just doing it on their own, because we don't really push anything out, is probably the e-signatures, like HelloSign, things like that. I think a lot of people have those, I guess I call it aha moments, like, oh my God, this is going to change everything. So they've been really hyper about that.
All right, great. So our next question is, how did you kickstart the process of getting folks using Google Apps organically? Was there a certain entry point or use case that gained momentum organically? And this is from Dave.
Yeah, Dave, that's a great question, because I do think that you're going to find some of the organizations adopted quicker than others. We definitely saw within the marketing teams, the sales teams, and also within the legal team, they started to adopt it much quicker. There are other folks who, God bless them, that they'll come along when the time comes. But for these folks, they absolutely love the capability to quickly collaborate. I guess one of the more impressive moments was after we rolled the implementation. I was sitting in a meeting, and up comes a Google Doc, and there was like 8 people collaborating in it in a conference room with it being projected. And I got to tell you, that was not something that I prompted or anything. So you start to see that the adoption starts coming in as you give folks the tools to work with it.
And just to add to that, we talked about this before, but if you have any teams that have lots of mobile workers or any teams that need to distribute a lot of information or any teams that are very project-oriented, so let's say you had, at Commune, for example, the development team, which kind of runs projects around each new site, they use Drive as well, and they started using it organically. So any parts of your company that either have a large number of mobile workers, or that do project-oriented work, or that need to share information seamlessly, those would be the places to look in terms of places that you can get people to start adopting these tools, because there's a clear reason and pain point why they would use the tool.
Yeah, and just to be clear, development in our context is new hotels, not development of code.
Yeah.
Because we have no developers of code. We look to you guys to do that. But yeah, we absolutely feel, and that was a great point. I miss those guys, but they absolutely love the tool.
But I mean, Mike, you mentioned kind of not development of code, but that's another use case as well, which is we've seen IT teams use Drive and apps basically to do things like manage their sprints and then have shared folders for their projects. And even there's another team that we work with, and we'll talk about this later on because they're going to be in our next Hangout on Air. But they actually use shared folders for all the products that they support to provide self-service documentation. And so users are able to go look at that and kind of service themselves in terms of troubleshooting their own equipment. So there's lots of use cases, regardless of what department you're in, if you think about those three characteristics we talked about.
All right, we have another question for Andy. It's from Jacqueline, and it's, how did you become the Google guru? What training did you receive?
I think I was a little too enthusiastic for it, maybe. I didn't mean to choose that camp, per se, but it just kind of stuck. But I was one of the people handed the keys to try to get people adopting it, and it just kind of stuck. So. Did you start in this organization working with Google Apps, or was it something that you moved from another role into? Actually, I was more. Yeah, I was a little different roles. I was working at a few different startups, but my good colleague Kristen invited me. She said, "I have a feeling this might be something you'd be good at." So she brought me on board to assist with the transitions, and then I stuck around. So now I'm here. No training formally, just a lot of reading, Googling.
Yeah, I mean, Andy's not doing himself justice, because he absolutely was one of the first to kind of embrace the entire suite and almost learn it inside and out. And he's been able to, I remember, I think when we first rolled out that implementation, there was a handful of questions out in the field, and Andy was the first to kind of just say, hey, I'll work the list. And when you have a guy like that show that type of initiative, not only is he the right person to do this work, the field absolutely loves him and embraces him. So they actually, oddly enough, ask for training, if you can believe that. They want Andy to show up on site and teach them kind of what's new and what's out there.
That's awesome, Andy. So another question from Jacqueline is, please share recommendations for getting skeptics to start using Google to collaborate.
Wow. So I'll take that one, because that's one I face a lot, because there are some people who, and they're that, when I talked about the technology immigrants, right? I mean, what you find is the people that were born in technology, the technology natives, it's not a big deal for them. They absolutely, in fact, I think my three boys, I have three kids, 14, 8, and 11, and they all have a Google account already, so they know how to work some of these stacks better than some of your skeptics. But the skeptics, you just have to kind of bring them in. Believe me, the Outlook overlay helps for some of the very hard luck cases. But yeah, you just try to work with them, and over time they will be enveloped, because everybody else will be working around them, and they'll have no choice. But work with them and be patient, because they're not trying to be bad. They're just they're just kind of a little bit more slow to the party. That's all.
And I guess one thing to add there would be, rather than, one thing we found that's effective in companies is, rather than positioning this tool as something that replaces a tool that they love, find the use cases that the Google Apps is uniquely suited to serve, right? Like collaborative editing, or instant video, or mobilizing information, or any of those types of things where it's the existing tool set doesn't actually do that. If someone really loves Excel or PowerPoint, maybe it's really hard to get them to switch that. But there are lots of other things that they could use Google Apps for. And one easy one would be let them try storing their files in Drive so that they can get access to it on whatever device they're on. Right? That's one easy one for a team. No one can dispute that that's a need. Another one is like something simple like taking meeting notes. That's something where it's clear that multiple people working on it is much better than just one person taking meeting notes. So I think there's some simple use cases, and you'll find some great tips in the GEC, for instance, that talk about use cases. And the more of those that you're armed with, and Andy does a great job of this, which is thinking through, like, what are simple things that I can show people, and once people experience it, then they'll start using it. Once they use it a little bit, they'll start using it more, as opposed to kind of coming in and saying, we're going to take away the tools that you like to use, right? So I think that's an important thing.
And following up that point, actually, a lot of the GC stuff is oriented towards admins and how you can get org to do stuff. But we've started this thing called the App Show, where we want to address directly with users what are the challenges you see, or what other things do you want to do in your work life that we can help you do? Can we help to find ways that apps can do it for you that's on top of your existing tool base? And so we want them to come in and ask, like, how do I do this better? How do I do this faster? And we'd love to answer it for them there. All right, so another one from Matt is, what is the best way to implement an integrated and organized way of doing project management? Building a Google Intranet site or using a third party?
I don't think there's one way to do it, and that's the key. I think you can do a combination of all. It really just depends on the team's needs. A good understanding of that is just give them those little aha moments. It may be something simple within Drive that you can do, like he was suggesting, but then expanding on it with even third-party tools. So it's flexibility is key, I think. You can't just think one way is the solution.
All right, and then we have a question from Trevor on how do you control the potential proliferation of Google Forms to collect information by both internal and external audiences?
Boy, I actually embrace that proliferation. That just tells me that people are using it and working with it. That's an interesting question, because I really would love to see proliferation happen, because to that point, people are using it. There's a lot of paper-based reports that we still have that we're slowly migrating, but at some point in time, I would love to see that proliferate. The beautiful thing about some of these tools is, once again, the search capability and being able to find things within the context is just remarkable. I mean, even I am getting kind of lazy in the world of trying to, segment files or labels and what have you. Don't even bother doing that anymore. I mean, my inbox is just an inbox. I just throw everything in there and just do search. So I think you'll find that proliferation is not a problem that you really have to worry about trying to solve.
All right, so I have one last question for you guys. And Mike, we already heard about your aha moment with Docs earlier. So Andy, since you're the Google guru, I want to know what your aha moment was with collaboration.
My aha moment with collaboration, I guess, is more of the pace at which things can get done is more of the now. So it was more of let's just have a meeting and let's just do it now, and it's just right there. And having things done literally in 15 minutes rather than having to set up meetings and things like that. Me personally, at that level with the IT team, we're, like Mike was saying, we're such a small group, and a lot of us are spread out all throughout the country, and now we're probably going to grow even to Asia. That becomes much more of a need and much more of a aha/relief moment, I guess, for me personally.
All right, great. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. And it looks like we don't have any more questions, so we're going to go ahead and sign off here.
Well, so just before we sign off, on September 11th, we'll have our next Hangout on Air, and we're going to be covering a similar kind of story of a company that used Drive to share information with all their users and really use it for IT support and to help them reduce support tickets. So this is the weather company, a company you're all familiar with if you ever wanted to know if it's going to rain tomorrow, you've looked at this company's products. So they're going to be joining us and talking about how their IT team used Drive and apps to reduce their support volume by about 70%. So please join us on September 11th for a similar Hangout on Air with the weather company.
And it looks like we do have a few last-second questions that came in. we'll go ahead and have those answered for you, and they'll be posted to the Hangout on Air.